Senator Mazie Hirono returns home following a whirlwind first month after being sworn into the U.S. Senate, and there are a number of big issues facing our nation, including immigration reform, gun control, and finding a way to steer clear of the devastating effects of sequestration. And now she's home and gets even busier. Joining us this morning with more is the senator herself, Mazie Hirono. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's always good to be home.
Oh, I'm sure it is, especially with the weather. Now, you recently had a conference call with reporters talking about these automatic cuts, and they'll be pretty devastating to the islands. What's going to be happening potentially on March 1st?
On March 1st, there'll be what I would call meat axe cuts to every single program that gets federal money. So that includes, of course, the military. In that regard, we're talking about thousands of people who would be furloughed, civilian employees of the Department of Defense. But we should remember that it also cuts across the programs on the domestic side. For Hawaii, TSA inspectors at our airports, ag inspectors at our airport, Head Start, every program that has federal money will be cut by a significant amount.
Watchdog groups are complaining that lawmakers are on a break right now, and this deadline is quickly approaching. So can there be any sort of agreement, or can there be some sort of a compromise before this happens?
Before the Senate adjourned this last week, we put in an alternative to sequester that would be a much more balanced approach that would balance the cuts with some new revenues. But the Republicans are really holding fast to just wanting to cut. And that's really not the way to go.
In President Barack Obama's State of the Union address, he talked about gun control and had some very emotional words in that speech. Do you think that there will be any sort of middle ground in terms of gun control?
That's one of the first hearings we had in the Judiciary Committee on which I sat. And yes, it is an emotional, highly charged issue. However, there are certain things that I think we can do. Background checks. There's a huge loophole on background checks depending on who you buy the gun from, where you buy the gun. I think we should close that loophole. Then there's also the issue of high-velocity firearms, and I think we should, take a look at that and try to ban assault weapons if we can. And there's also a lot of gun trafficking in this country, which means that people are able to buy guns, resell it. It's called gun trafficking. It's another huge loophole that we should close. I'm hopeful that, especially after the Sandy Hook, which the president, by the way, said that was the worst day of his presidency, really one of the worst days, because as a father, I mean, that devastation. So he is very much behind gun control. As you know, but that's not the only emotional issue that we're dealing with in Judiciary Committee and in Congress, and the other is immigration reform.
And the immigration not only impacts people on the mainland, it impacts people here in Hawaii too, especially the local Filipino population as well.
So we had a pretty long hearing on immigration, and it's going to be a series of dialogue that we're going to have. We'll have other hearings. The chairman of the Judiciary Committee has said that we need to fix this broken system. There is agreement between Democrats and Republicans in acknowledging that this is a broken system with 11 million people in the shadows. And when we had our hearing, I emphasized how important it was that one of our basic tenets for any immigration reform should be family reunification, and that, for example, Filipino World War II veterans have been waiting decades to be reunited with their children. And I'm hopeful that that's one of the changes we'll make. In addition, I know that I talked about Visit USA, which is visa reform. I'm hopeful that there can be some provisions from my Visit USA bill that can be incorporated into a larger comprehensive immigration reform bill. That would help our Hawaii economy a lot.
All right. Well, Senator Mazie Hirono, I appreciate your time here, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
I'll be back.
All right. Thank you.